Okay, let's talk about something we all depend on every single second: electricity. What does the future of our power grid actually look like? Well, new research is diving into this, and it's pitting two really different ideas against each other. Are we heading for one giant global supergrid, or millions of tiny, local microgrids?
Just think about this for a minute. What if you could take all that incredible, powerful sunshine hitting the Sahara Desert and use it to power a city like London, thousands of miles away, even in the dead of winter? It sounds a little like science fiction, doesn't it?
Well, that's the grand vision, the big promise of what's called a super smart grid. But as we're about to see, this dream of a global energy internet is hitting some very real and very big roadblocks. So is this idea a brilliant future, or is it kind of a dangerous fantasy? Let's dig in. All right, so let's start with the big idea itself. What exactly is this globe-spanning grid that's supposed to change everything?
So a super smart grid, or SSG, you can basically think of it as an internet for energy. It's this massive international network that's designed to move electricity from countries that have a ton of renewable power to other countries that really need it.
And the whole point of this is to solve the #1 problem with renewables. They're not always on. The sun isn't always shining. The wind isn't always blowing. A supergrid tries to fix that by connecting everybody, smoothing out all those bumps, and making sure there's a steady flow of clean power 24/7.
It's a really cool vision, right? But the research is pretty clear on this. When you try to connect entire continents with basically one giant power cord, you also create some pretty massive vulnerabilities.
Okay, first, and this is a big one, geopolitics. Would any country really be okay with handing over the keys to its entire national power supply to another country? In a world full of tension and conflict, the idea of giving someone else an international off switch for your country's electricity it's pretty terrifying.
And then there's the money. The cost is just staggering. We are talking billions, maybe even trillions of dollars in upfront investment just to build the special high-voltage lines and the huge storage systems you'd need. A lot of countries are just not willing to take on that kind of financial gamble.
And then you have the digital risk. A super-connected grid that's all run by complex software, that just becomes a massive, juicy target for cyber attacks. A single successful hack wouldn't just cause a local blackout anymore. It could cascade across entire countries and create a catastrophe on a continental scale.
So with all these huge global-scale challenges, a lot of researchers are starting to ask, hey, what if the answer isn't to go bigger, but to go smaller? Like way, way smaller.
And that brings us to the microgrid. I want you to think of it like a self-sufficient little power island. It's a small-scale, local grid that can power something like a neighborhood or a hospital or a college campus. And, this is the really crucial part, it can just disconnect from the main grid and run all on its own if it needs to.
This table here really just nails the difference. See, where the supergrid is international and totally centralized, the microgrid is local and decentralized. And look at that last row. That makes it way more resilient. It can just island itself if there's a big outage on the main grid.
So this is really the fundamental trade-off we're talking about. The supergrid is all about global efficiency, but it comes with these huge, massive risks. The microgrid, on the other hand, puts local independence and resilience first. It's just a completely different way of thinking about power.
So, which idea is winning? Where are the experts putting their energy? To figure that out, the researchers behind this study put on their data detective hats and just dove into years and years of academic papers.
And they analyzed a lot of them. We're talking over 16,000 academic articles, all published in just the last 5 years, just to see what the trends and the general feeling in the field were. And the first clue they found was that interest was kind of dropping off. After years of steady research, the number of academic papers on super smart grids took a real noticeable dip. It looks like that initial excitement might be fading a little.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, here's the twist. The researchers used 3 different ways to analyze the language in all these papers, and all 3 pointed to the exact same thing. Even though the number of papers is down, the overall tone is actually getting more and more positive over time. There's this growing sense of optimism.
So what are all these optimistic researchers working on? Well, they're not just thinking about theory. They're focused on really practical problems. And if you look closely at number 3 and 4 here, you see a really clear pattern. Control methods for distributed networks and voltage and control in DC systems. Guess what? That's the core tech that makes microgrids work.
So, what picture does all of this paint for our energy future? It turns out it might not be a simple choice of one or the other.
And this quote from the study, this really says it all. The big takeaway here isn't supergrid versus microgrid. The research is actually suggesting that microgrids are the essential first step. They're these practical, deployable building blocks that give us resilience right now while also laying the groundwork for a bigger, more connected system down the road.
And looking forward, this is where all the cutting-edge research is heading. It's all about making these local systems smarter and more secure. We're talking about using AI for optimization, getting better at energy storage, and, this is a big one, integrating things like electric vehicles, which can basically act as little mobile batteries to help support the local grid.
So we end up back where we started, but with a whole new way of looking at it. The future of your power probably isn't going to be just global or just hyperlocal. The research really suggests that the answer is both. A strong, resilient foundation of local microgrids, all working together to build a smarter, more flexible grid for all of us. The future, it seems, starts small.